Good morning, everybody. Christ has ascended. He has ascended in glory. Good to see everybody. One second. I'll just pop something up. Oh. Get your coffee. Get your coffee going. Let's see something real quick. Live? Let me see if there's something. Maybe it's not live. So Jay was going with Andrew back on Piers Morgan, but when I put on Piers Morgan uncensored live, it's like 1 year ago. That can't be right. What is? Am I missing something here? Maybe it's not live. I don't know. What do you guys know? $21, blackjack. Well, let's do some just announcements. Remember, the conference is sold out. We might have... Oh, it's never live? Oh, of course it is. Yeah, exactly. It'll air in a few days. That's right. I forgot. Yes, conference for MontaNIKA is sold out. We might have room for one more if you really... but we're maxed out. It looks like we're going to have 170 people, so I can't fit any more in the hall. Plus, all supplies and food was for 170. So, for those of you procrastinating, I'm very sorry. It's going to be the best one yet. And, a lot of people think that, well, we'll go next year. There may not be a next year. I hope so. Jim Bob. I'd make room for Jim Bob. He's got to come up. Played bluegrass last night with the band I play with, String Beans. That's Beings. Is in existence. Beans. To anta. Beans in the Greek. And they're actually going to be coming Friday night music hospitality to not only see the professional live bluegrass, the local live professional bluegrass band, Well Beaten Path, but also to probably play a few songs. So really excited about that. Stopped by one of our sponsors, 10 Mile Creek Brewing. The kegs all being set up for the provide local beer. That's going to be a stout. Looks like it's going to be a stout for the evenings. So we're excited about that. What else is going on with everything's coming along. Really excited. And wow, it's a lot of work. There's so many moving parts you wouldn't even know. So many things that could go wrong. And of course there's always little hiccups, but the God is good and loves mankind and always seems to bless the conference, and whatever hiccups there are fixed, and it always runs really smoothly. And it really is a miracle because it is so complicated, and like I said, it's so big and so many moving parts. It's beyond my own ability to even manage all this. obviously it's God's grace, but also a huge shout out and thanks to all the volunteers and workers, our cook, and everybody that makes this happen, because I wouldn't be able to do it without them. And so very happy about that. Other announcement, we are keeping registration open if you want to add the Canvas online epistemology course, and that is available. We are in week 5. You can make that up fairly easy. It's a 16-week course. It's a college course, and you can actually there's one student that was able to transfer that, so you can get that approved, because it is I have a online teaching certificate, and this is the course that I teach at 2 of the colleges and universities I work at. And so because of that if I teach this at an accredited college, this can get approved by your own department and dean and transfer credits too. So that's really great news. You can go at your own pace, in which case you don't have to worry about kind of making stuff up. There is one scholarship available at half price. For those in financial need, you can contact me if they're really interested. Put the link there. There's also payment plans as well. And this is one of our best and largest classes that we've done. And like I said, we're in week 5 of the 16-week course. So there is that. What else? What other announcements? Questions? All right, let me go find some news to cover. Chinese weaponized fungus? Am I listening? Is that correct? All right, I'm closing this. No, wait, I'm going to open something. Here's something funny. I always get... It's interesting that this debate with Matt Slick help me understand the psychology of people like this. I've talked about this too. We live in a strange time where debate has become popular again. Now, debate always had a historical precedent, obviously going all the way back to the Greek philosophers and Socrates, and the virtues of that, of appealing to the logos and rationality and arguments to critique bad arguments, bad positions, and go where the best argument led. And that was really important too in terms of not only in the Senate and, the political sphere, but the philosophical, moral, and religious sphere as well in antiquity, that the use of reason and also the public phenomenon of where the public was able to see who had a better argument and what positions were foolish. Because the primary purpose of debate is not to win the opponent over. It's a public event in which you're attempting to win the public over and not your opponent. You're attempting to critique and show the errors of your opponent's position by rationality, logic, and argumentation, and then win the public over. And so it's interesting that in the previous decade, it was, because we lived kind of in an effeminate culture, and this was kind of seen as, oh, this is mean. And I'd also say the influence of relativism as well, and tone policing, and just living in a culture that's, you're not supposed to offend anybody. The virtues of public debate, the acceptance of the virtues had kind of decreased, and it wasn't in vogue. And recently, this has kind of popped up. And there's good and bad things about that. One of the things is when it becomes popular, then anybody and everybody can just do debate without proper training or credentials, philosophical education, education and logic. And so the good virtues of debate become cheapened. Also, you have this kind of American consumerism because of online. You pick your favorite debater, and then it becomes just kind of more of a spectacle in sports, of entertainment. That's kind of the negative aspect that's kind of going on. People just want to be entertained, and so that cheapens, like I said, the goodness, the intrinsic goodness and virtues of public debate. And the other thing, too, is that eventually, if it's just entertainment and you have kind of low tier, you don't actually have professional trained debaters and people with credential, I think eventually this fad, this popularity of online public debate will wear off and people kind of turn against it. That's kind of unfortunate. But the other thing that I noticed, too, is, and I obviously wouldn't be doing it, and Jay and others who are professionally trained in it wouldn't be doing it if we didn't actually think that it had an impact, especially in terms of apologetics, winning the public over to orthodoxy. It has been extremely effective, and we wouldn't be doing that if it didn't work, and showing that other positions and religions are foolishness. But at the same time, there is an element they see that it's just, if it's spectacle, if it's just entertainment, what you have, and you see a lot of this, is that it's, people have already made up their minds. They probably have an inability, due to their commitments or lack of intelligence and education, to actually objectively assess arguments and debates, so they just root for their own team. And I want to show you an example of something like that. And we've all seen it, whether it's the Roman Catholics versus, an Orthodox versus Orthodoxy, and you see in the chat. And again, I think a lot of this is just, these people are probably pretty young, and they don't understand the arguments. They don't care. They're just rooting for their own side. And you get them in the chat, and for example, Ubi versus Voice of Reason. I notice people in the chat, I'm like, they're not even paying attention to what the arguments are. And it's just like, oh, Ubi got cooked, right? I'm like, it's always like this. And it's kind of, that aspect of debate today is frustrating, that you just have these people, it doesn't matter how great the argument is, they'll always think their side won and the other side got cooked. So I want to show you an example of, yeah, Jay Wood has, that's right, how the dialect and defending your position as an intellectual virtue. Yes. Look at this. This is what. So let's go to the Matt Slick. Here's a clear example where the opponent did so bad that more Protestants have left Protestantism because of, and come to Orthodoxy because of this debate, because of how bad Matt Slick actually did in this debate with me. When was that? It was longer than 4 years ago. I don't get. When was that debate? 5 years ago? Maybe it was 4 years ago. It was because I lived in Montana, after I moved. You'll see the ratios in the comments. Again, it's gotta be bad if, even by Protestant standards, every single Protestant is like, he got smoked, he got cooked, he lost the debate. In light of that, you get a comment from time to time like this: Matt Slick won this hands down. The bias in the comments section is apparent. How is that possible? How can somebody actually come to that conclusion when even Protestants, and you can look, not everybody in the comment section is biased. They're obviously biased the other direction, if anything. When you have it, Protestants who, their guy, they even admit, totally lost. And yet you'll have somebody like this. So this came in an hour ago, and I'm just like, occasionally you'll get something. Is there any help or thing you can do somebody that's this deluded, where somebody clearly loses even by Protestant what the Protestants are saying, and you got to come out and be like, hands down? It cracks me up. 1,300 comments. 98% saying he lost, and not all of them are Orthodox. So how do you explain that there's a person that exists in the world that's like this guy? It amazes me. It truly is amazing that there's actually people who exist. But that would be an example of the unfortunate aspect of our society today, and its inability to actually objectively appreciate and look at debates. Abject Fool donates $20. Thank you so much. What is the relation between one's disposition and their epistemology? How does that relate to Nous and the heart? Disposition, you mean virtues and character? Is that, I'm assuming that's what. Dave the Flipping donates $10. Thank you so much, Dave, a regular contributor. And Daleless donates $20. Another regular contributor says, thank you, Father. Thank you, Dale Delis. Excuse me. I always have a hard time pronouncing it, but I love the name. Well, there's a perfect example of this, that gentleman there, or other people that you can find in the chat during a debate or something like that. It's not simply an issue that they're uneducated or too low IQ to understand. So if it isn't simply a matter of the intellect, that's like, how could you have something so clear not be understood by somebody? it could be because they're unintelligent or uneducated, but not always. It's not the only aspect. Here I think you have an example of that obviously this person, I doubt they lack the intelligence to understand the debate. They have vices. Their moral character and who they are makes it corrupts their ability to reason correctly. And so that's why we would say we have something like a virtue epistemology, and you can get the David Wood book too, becoming epistemology, becoming intellectually virtuous, where it goes into these issues that, a lot of times people get the wrong answer or refuse to see the truth because of the sort of character and person that they are or have made themselves. And not only is that in terms of in morality, the virtues, but also the spiritual virtues, that there's a spiritual element to that corrupts their reasoning. And so therefore, in order to overcome that, we seek to become virtuous individuals, acquire the virtues, develop our character, develop our spiritual lives, so that we don't fall into the errors of gentlemen like that and people that you see in the chat and in various debates. Yeah, Jacob, the Ubi versus Vor example shows how people become tribalistic about. Yeah, I can look objectively. I'm sure I have a little bias and stuff like that. But as I always say, I can I have methods by which I can transcend certain biases that I have. I brought this up with, it was years back. I was having a conversation with Orthodox philosophy professor, and I was criticizing a certain contemporary music, and I'm like, it's objectively bad. And I got the critique, oh, well, you're just an old fogey. I mean, every generation, older generation looks back on the youth and thinks, oh, that's bad and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, that phenomenon exists. And I might be influenced by being a Gen Xer to look at, new contemporary stuff. But I have things within me by which I can transcend that. Number one, I've studied music. I have an appreciation of music. I play music. So I would be in a better position than somebody like this gentleman who is critiquing me, who doesn't play music, who has not studied music, to actually objectively say, yeah, this is actually objectively bad music. It's not done well. And I'm not particularly biased by any particular genre. That's not like, well, I only like bluegrass, and everything that's not bluegrass is. I have a wide kind of variety and appreciation of various types of music that I would say allows me to kind of transcend particular biases. Also, I'm a philosopher. So, yes, ceteris paribus, all things being equal, I might have a really difficult time transcending my own generation and looking at new contemporary music to see if there's any value in. However, because I'm trained as a philosopher to transcend emotions and biases and stuff like that, I can look at and be like, objectively think through these things rationally and be like, this is terrible music and it's terrible for the soul, etc. Likewise, I think when it comes to debate, of course, all things being equal, I would want, I'd probably think like my guy, he's the winner because he's Orthodox. But because I practice objectively pushing aside emotions and objectively looking at the argument itself, detaching it from the person, I have a better ability to be able to transcend whatever biases. And I've seen debates where I'm like, my guy didn't do well. The Orthodox guy that wasn't a great argument. So anyways, I just thought it was kind of relevant. Most people, obviously, unless you've been trained in logic and debate and have practiced this and work on philosophy and stuff like that, where you continually practice trying to what's the word I want to use? Distinguish, but and lay aside the kind of personal biases. You probably are just voting like, well, my favorite sports team. My guy always wins. Sweatin' Cowboy says, I do not really think they know better. Lord willing, they will be illumined, but as you said, they can't even consider. It just depends. I mean, it's a case by case basis. So it depends. First of all, what do we mean by not knowing better? Is it just because they're unintelligent, or they haven't learned, or they can't actually understand what the argument is saying, or are there, again, issues of vices and other things going on in their lives spiritually in which they're not understanding the argument? However, it's irrelevant. I would say the different degrees. We could say one ought to know better. A person's in a position where it's, especially when they're given the argument, it's like, now you're accountable. And I would say, given different places that Protestants and other people outside the faith are at, some people are probably more accountable than others to that. Wrongful Rage donates $9.99. Thank you so much. God bless, and thank you for imparting your knowledge of the Orthodox view. You've helped me grow, and for this I pray to God that I find my way. Well, we pray for you as well. Thank you so much and for your support and our prayers. Oh, you don't have to pay me anything, Justin, to condemn anime. I've talked about this too. I mean, I don't think there's obviously anything intrinsically wrong with cartoons and perhaps in that sense anime. The problem is where you're at in life, how old you are, and how much time you're spending in certain things in life. And what is disturbing to me is two things. And it's no fault of the Z generation. There was, I think, a deliberate move, probably starting, even probably in the millennial infantilization to make adults and teenagers children. And so it's not just, this comes through anime as well, but I would also say Disney, the obsession, like the push for Disney. What would other examples of this be? Now let me explain something. So maybe toys, Funko Pops and stuff like that, like this kind of obsession with children's things. I do remember the first time I went to a rave was probably 1995, 96 or something like that. That's the first place I actually saw where I'm like, it's literally I think I actually thought this the first time that I saw it. I'm like, this is literally a CIA psyop where they're giving people drugs and turning them back into, like, there was an obsession with children's things, like pacifiers in the mouth and candy girls and all the bracelets. And I remember other friends saying that too. There was like this, return to your childhood and obsession with, that was interesting. That's another example. But let me tell you something. I stopped watching cartoons and playing with toys probably when I was 13 years or 14 years old. No, it doesn't mean that, once in a while, like, as a joke, or just something stupid, like, we'd find Scooby-Doo on and laugh at it or something like that. But I put away childhood things and toys when I was about 13 or 14 years old. So it's really strange to me then that it's like you have people in their late teens and 20s and 30s still not only just the amount of time watching anime and playing with toys and dollies, but that it becomes an identity. The fact that people have PFPs as anime is a perfect example of that. So that's the second aspect of it. And something that I don't know why intrinsically I've been like this, but growing up, if something becomes a fad, I remember this, or like even as when I was in high school, if something becomes a fad, Fortnite, that's the other, and popular, I immediately had I detested it. I might have been realizing that it was artificial and manufactured. Also, I actually felt that there was a loss. Like, it seems to me, if I reflect back on who I was and who I've been, I valued unique, an authentic individual. That's what I want. And so when people, and that's not to say, like, again, there were different groups, like, let's say I'm not totally opposed to it, so it's nuanced. We have to think about this. But, it's like, oh, it's cool. I like, in some sense, the different kind of cliques and groups that existed in high school, the greasers, the punks. I kind of appreciated that, and there was a level of authenticity to that. But you can obviously see a difference between somebody, trying to find kind of like an identity or something like that in these kinds of different groups and finding good things about that they have, versus groups and identities that are manufactured that are clearly inauthentic. And so I think even in high school, even before I was introduced to philosophy, I had an ability to distinguish between fads that seemed kind of fake and inauthentic, that created kind of herd mentality and a loss of a unique authenticity of an individual, and things and groups that people joined that did have a level of authenticity and virtues. And so, anyways, I would say, it'll turn you Japanese. I'd say that there's some issues with the whole anime and the culture that's created a level of inauthenticity, not to mention that what could possibly be an infantilism that's actually purposely manufactured. That's my... But I wouldn't say, like, it, from time to time you watched, like, it bad. I would say, but generally overall, and the fact that people turn this into an identity, the fact that people who are adults in their late teens or older are actually spending this much time, I could say the same thing about video games as well, or anything, seems to be extremely concerning. And also, notice how defensive people get. Why do they become so defensive if Father Moses or myself critique? Because it's an idol. That's why. People obsessed with Star Wars, Disney, Fortnite. People who are like, I'm a gamer. Anime. That's kind of my critique. Does that make sense? It's kind of more nuanced. All right, let's see what else you guys have. This. Yeah, and it seems to be demasculizing too. Maybe that's because it's a form of infantilism. But like anime and Star Wars people seem to be very soy. Anime's the devil, Baba Shay, yeah. Yeah, they made drugs into candy shape. That's a good... Kids don't smoke cigarettes, cowboys anymore. They're on what? Candy vapes. Isn't that weird? And that's the other thing too, that there's this weird kind of I think the Gen Xers who had children, because the Gen Xers would be the parents, right, of Gen Zers, is that right? They presented kind of a coddled, everything's dangerous, right? You could get hurt, you could get sued, right? And so there's like, everything becomes this like safe space, right? I think in the kind of, generally speaking, the parenting that Gen Xers had provided. And so Gen Zers, of course, they have fear. They're, generally speaking, risk avoidant. I can't tell you, it's very strange to me how many Gen Zers who are of age don't drink. And they're like, I'll never touch, if I had one sip, I'd become an alcoholic. It's like, it's kind of bizarre to, like, that's fine if somebody wants to. But it's the reasons why you're doing something that are kind of more concerning to me. It's like, why? Because I'm afraid. Everything's going to make me this, or this is going to happen to you. I'm like, that's crazy, but I'm like, people work their whole lives to become alcoholics, and it takes a lot. I'm not encouraging, alcohol usage, but you get the idea that there's no kind of mean proportional or moderation. It's like, they're just absolutely afraid of it. They don't engage in. But what happens, what's really interesting, so you'll see, let's say, a decrease in cigarette use, tobacco usage, or something like that. But then a safe alternative comes out. It's vaping. Which now is coming out that said, like, obviously these things are scams that, the safe alternatives never actually oftentimes safer. People are getting popcorn. Like, it's probably a lot worse. But I think that element appealed to the Z generation. That, there's a safe alternative to. But I like your point too. Just thinking about kind of infantilization. But these vapes are candy flavors. Isn't that weird? Drugs, ecstasy, Molly, and methamphetamines, and they're all made to look like candy now. Isn't that interesting? I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point. Yeah, it's helicopter momming that Gen Z created. Sorry, that Gen X did to Gen Z. Yeah. So my apologies for my generation. Yeah, it could be Orthodox people and grandma that they've also seen more of the devastation. So maybe people didn't know as much, but that can't be the only. I mean, I knew growing up in the 90s, like, the risks and the devastation of substance abuse and stuff like that. So I think it's a bit more nuanced and a little bit more complicated than just that. That's got to be an element. Yeah, I'm convinced that vapes are gotta be proven to, if not already, worse than cigarettes. It's interesting. Oh, the anti-furry bill. She condemned on how ridiculous it was that Texas has. That's an issue, this whole furry thing. I heard that it even came up in some of the Montana's public schools. I don't know if they eventually got it out. But you hear about they were actually putting like litter boxes in some of these schools. What a crazy, weird world we live in. I cannot believe it. E-war mapping. Do you know why our El Peter Photos has not been dealt with before? Why do you think? That would require there's other bishops that within Goark that are against his. Also, he seems to kind of toe the line, like where it's kind of doesn't like, I don't know if he blatantly like, he keeps it vague enough and on the kind of line that makes it difficult probably to get him on something, but it would require a synod. I do know he did get in serious trouble over going to Greece with the baptizing the gay couple's baby by the EP himself. So that was his biggest mistake. But yeah, he's smart enough that he doesn't blatantly put out a statement that he can get caught, like he can. And this is a tactic too, to keep your language vague enough. You see this in the papacy. That's what I mean, though. Um, he can keep those statements about we all worship the same God, or the Theotos example. He can keep that vague enough that he could squirm out of it and be like, "Well, what I really meant." So it's hard to um, it's hard to kind of nail him down on, and that's a tactic too. Yeah, like I said, you see in the papacy, blessing of same sex, like clearly we know what they mean by that, and but then they keep it vague enough, or they'll, so they're pushed on that, be like, well, that's not exactly what I meant. This was misinterpreted. So it's really kind of difficult to kind of, that's assuming you had bishops who would stand against that would actually do and then do something about it. Look into the correlation of the rising camp use and lowering of out. That's interesting. That was the other thing I was thinking about. Speaking of substance abuse, I'm nasal spray. What is this stuff? Oxymetallazine. I gotta get it. Gotta get another order from Target. Let me see if I can send something to. This is what I feel like. You guys are gonna love this. Come on. This is what I feel like. Alright, put ice down here. Pull this up. Did not go through? What's going on? Here it is. Smelling weed in public in high school was me on the left. Versus me smelling weed now in public on the right. Isn't that... Such a good meme. How times have changed. When I've grown up, I put away childish things. Isn't that funny? But I was thinking about this, that, and none of this is encouraging or saying this was good, when I was younger. But obviously it was illegal. It was... There was an act of kind of rebellion against authority. That you're not supposed to do this, right? That I think was appealing to me as young. That you had to be creative about how you tried to partake, in that without getting caught. And in light of that, certain kind of friendships kind of formed, and adventures, and kind of a scene, right? Like there was something, unique about like our friends that, and just kind of funny stories, and um, where it was difficult. It wasn't accepted. It wasn't legal. Um, we often got in trouble, but it solidified kind of friendships in that, and just the whole kind of the era was so different. And then what happens? So this is kind of similar to the cigarettes and the vape, right? It's like, well, the kids that smoke cigarettes, I mean, they were, those are the greasers, man. You got to watch out. Those are the, you got to watch out for, they're rebels without a cause. You got that kind of, and I think there's some virtue in the anti-authoritarian, but it was directed in the wrong way. And later I learned how to direct what was perhaps intrinsic good, just directed in the wrong way, into the right ways, into being kind of, for God and creative and learning and stuff like that. That there was an element to that. Does that make sense? That I think is admirable. It was just directed in the wrong way in our youth and folly. And so but that changes. Then it's, now everything's homogenized. Well, all, like, nobody smokes cigarettes. It's all vapes. All the kids are on vapes now. Likewise, I would say that was a counterculture, kind of authoritarian, interesting kind of group of people and what they had to do in that made kind of a group and scene. That went away once it was made legal and recreational. Not everybody is, unfortunately, high on weed. It's been normalized. That's what... And what I'm saying is both are wrong, but I think the normalization and the homogenization and the legalization is far worse of a phenomenon than what occurred in the 90s and the 80s. That's what I'm pointing out. And what's interesting, as you pointed out, the decrease. So this is what's interesting is in the Z generation, you have this kind of fear of, well, I don't do like alcohol and, cigarette usage. But that they go to the established, created normalization of things that, in some sense, I think are a lot worse. Vapes and cannabis use. What do you think about that? And I always look, and it's just like, you'll never know what it was like when it was illegal, and having to go through, and grow up in that period and being part of that, because now it's just everybody's high, unfortunately. And the other thing too is that the potency of this stuff and what it's doing psychologically, like it's, people are having psychosis and stuff and a lot of mental problems. We're getting more kind of data on that. But I Sweat and Cowboy, I think that's interesting, the correlation between rising cannabis use and lowering of alcohol use. Look, alcohol built Western civilizations. Weed built mud huts, dude. Have you seen that meme? He did the meme. What do you think? Oh, we've got Gary G doing his $10. You mentioned staying unbiased. I set out to prove the papacy via church history and speaking with clergy while trying to be impartial. I'll let you. God bless. See? Gary G, thank you so much. Theocracy and Joy, what did you think about stoners and stone? Well, let's just see what did I look like in high school? I like looking through photos and telling you stories. I think that pictures with stories is so much better. Here's one. It's hard to see this. Me in high school with long hair. I didn't always have long hair. Man, I can't believe this girl remembers this party. At Mike Ring's house. That's funny. These are people I went to high school with. She's Orthodox now too. Isn't that funny? Let me see if I can find another picture I want to show, and then you can be like, "What do you think I thought of stoners growing up?" That's me, my brother, 1997. So, yeah. I had a conversation with somebody who just laid aside marijuana, and I've had this conversation with people before about this. And I think in some sense marijuana is actually worse and more dangerous than alcohol or hard drugs. I gotta qualify that though. When you are messing up on hard drugs or alcohol, it's apparent you're messing up. It's apparent the changes that are happening to your mind and character. But it isn't with marijuana. The changes that happen to you are so subtle and long. Also, you stop, excessive alcohol usage or engaging in hard drugs. You sober up pretty quick and realize, oh my gosh, like, obviously, I don't like that person. A totally different, like, I can see it. The changes pretty quick when you stop engaging in those things. You can't with marijuana. It can take years for you to realize, like, I was a different person. I thought about things differently. And so, in that sense, it presents something that's probably more dangerous in that it's subtle, that you can't see the changes, the bad changes, even when you stop. And so, I'm definitely not an advocate of. Now, of course, there's medical usage, but you have to be really careful. You have to talk to a priest with. Obviously, I would say, yeah, if somebody had to take medication, like, I'd rather see them probably on taking weed than opiates or something like that. But it has a psychoactive effect. You have to keep in mind, like, it will affect your nous and your mind, in some senses more so than opiates and alcohol and stuff like that. So, like, even in medical usage, you got to be very careful about. And that's something you need to talk to your priest about. I don't think the CBD doesn't have any psychoactives, so I don't think you have to worry about anything about that. Well, it definitely is a sin in the sense that you cannot use any substance um, like marijuana or prescription drugs or something uh, for spiritual use. Um, the only one that I know that you could use, like the church, okay, is generally, unless you have a problem, for recreational use is alcohol. But again, alcohol, in moderation, uh, is not going to have the mental and spiritual effects that marijuana like. Um, and so, yeah, I have some real concerns about, people that are pro marijuana always like to go on alcohol. It's like, yeah, but alcohol doesn't it doesn't change your mind and your nous and your spiritual life the way that marijuana does. And it's really hard to see unless you've been away from it for many, many, many years to be able to. And I think Sweat and Cowboy as well, because alcohol is so ingrained in history and accepted again in terms of societal cohesion. It's actually a like that's, we use it in sacramentally. um you can't make analogies with weed. And again, getting a buzz and enjoying alcohol, like recreational, it can't be the same. You can't really do that with weed because of the psychoactive, like what it's actually doing to your mind and nous. That's why. I think even at lower levels, like recreational, I'm like, I can see it. I don't know. I'm like, yeah, you're getting a buzz or something, like you can functionally like drive a car or something. I get it, but I'm like, something, I can see it, and I know from my own experience, even at low dosages, I'm like, it's changing your mind and out, like it has a psychoactive like property that alcohol does not. And again, you're free to do whatever you want. I just don't recommend, like as clergy, we always say, you're free. You're free will. We just don't recommend, like we see things that we've had experience with people. It's like, you know, like there's issues that can come up. Yeah, Montana's interesting because it's there are dispensaries everywhere. There's literally a dispensary next door to in the brewery, right next door to the brewery next door. Um, the thing that's different about Montana, I can't figure this out. Unlike California, well, in California, it's like all I could smell is weed. Everybody, it's like, and I thought about that too. And I'm like, everybody's literally high driving their car and like serving your food, like. But I just, especially driving, it's just like people just smoke and drive. What is Matthew McConaughey? Why drink and drive when you can smoke and fly? All right, all right, all right, all right. Hey man, are you cool? Hey, man. Um, that tripped me out. I don't see that in Montana. Like, I rarely smell it. So I don't know what people in Montana like. They go to the store, they get a little bag, right? And they must go home and partake like in the privacy of their home. That's a trip for me. Like, I always kind of trip out on. I'm like, yeah, Montanans are weird. They're definitely like obviously large consumers of it. And Montana's really kind of more of a libertarian conservative state. It's not, when we say it's red, it's like but it's very libertarian. So that's why they made it recreational. But well, at least if they're gonna be doing it, they're not out and about in driving. I rarely smell it. But like when I'm in California on the West, like yeah, it's like everybody's just driving and smoking. Yeah, damn it, that's what I'm saying. You can't see it, and I don't know if I even started to notice, until like 3, 4 years out of like it took a long time that I was like, ah, that's interesting. I don't know how to. It's like the way that you think of like make. I don't. It's really kind of like I said. It's really subtle, and you look at the world differently, and you think about the way they make connections and stuff like that. It's different. Um, I don't like it. Like I like being sober. Um, I like the way that I think. Now that I'm out of it for so long, so I'm Cowboy, recently sober. God bless you in your journey. Know it's going to be many years road. Priests have been very patient. Yeah. Um, good. I'm glad you're working with the priest. And we actually have two or three addiction certified therapists that are going to be at MontaNIKA. So some of the workshops are actually going to be on addiction. But I don't see any reason for concern for CBD. Like that's not a psychoactive, so don't worry about. What is going on with my phone? It keeps. All right. What else should we cover? The Mormons are still losing their mind. We do have somebody downstairs from us that you're not supposed to smoke. Like they keep making these announcements. You can't smoke or marijuana, anything in your apartment or within 500 feet of any building. These people down, like, they open the door so I can smell. And that I do smell, and it dry. Yeah, and it's weird. I used to, when I was younger, like the smell of it. Like now it's just. We went to a concert last week in Missoula to see Black Keys, who's the guitar player is, interesting enough, the nephew of the famous philosopher Wilfred Van Orman Quine. But of course, everybody smokes weed at con. It's just like, I'm telling you, it got on my nose. I couldn't get it out. You know when you get an odor in your nose and it's like, even when you leave, I'm like, I can still smell it. And I don't like it, but not in the sense that it's like repugnant, like vomit or poo poo or something like it's like annoying or something. And it must be because the way I associate it with that, and I don't like the smell of it for different reasons than something that's just objectively gross. But it bothers me. Yeah, because nobody enforces any rules. That's the problem with society. Is all the things there should be consequences for and being enforced, people don't, and the things that shouldn't be, those are the things that people go after and enforce. It's all backwards. Yeah, unless the problem though with the CBD versus the THC is that there's studies that the benefits of the CBD, the medicinal and pain benefits of CBD, are only activated by the THC. So, but yeah, if you could prove, I just don't think you can. I don't think there's any evidence that that's that CBD alone would have the same or better advantages than CBD with THC. That's the problem. There seems to be something that THC activates in the. But yeah, if that were the case, then yeah, there's no reason why anybody should be partaking in THC. If you have a medication or you have something like CBD that has all the benefits. All right, let's move on. To review some news. Unfortunately, it is gay month. The good news is it's not as gay as gay months in the past have been. We saw some good news with Target and other companies have pulled away from that. You're seeing, I think, generally in society, people are just tired of it. It doesn't have the momentum and maybe even the funding that it did. Oh, what is this? July 25th. A bluegrass festival. Check this out. Here is something that's not gay. That's July. Look at Well Beaten Path. They'll be there. That's the band that... Montana Standard is one of the best. See the different band. 10 miles south of Hamilton. Where's Hamilton again? I love these bluegrass festivals up here. Hamilton. Where is Hamilton again? Hamilton. 104 miles from here. 2 hours and 40. Holy smokes. Oh, I know. It's south of Missoula in the Lolo Valley. The problem is... Yeah, that's kind of a distance. 2 hours and 42 minutes. I wish they'd have things closer. Hard times, but that does sound fun though. But that is a drive. Fly fishing Montana right there. That little creek, man. Where is that? That looks nice. Can't wait to get my... The thing is, you can roll your foot on these rocks, so I've got to get my strength up a lot more on my foot, my ankle. For sale, 1975 double wide trailer. $75,000. That seems like a lot. But I like that the trailer looks all wood. It doesn't look like a... Oh, yeah. It looks kind of cheesy here. Yeah, unfortunately, prices of houses have gone up in Montana, dang it. You go to Billings, though, it's pretty cheap. Look at this. 1 bedroom, 1.5 bath, $740 a month. Wow, there's no way that... You just got to move to Billings. That's not a bad deal. So there's places in Montana, but like obviously you live in Helena, Missoula, Bozeman, Kalispell. You are not going to find those prices. Yeah, Kalispell. 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom house. Almost $2,000. Although it's pretty dope. Look at that. The wood floors. That's pretty cool. I think we're paying up to like $1,600 now for our 2 bedroom, 2 bath. But well, I'll tell you what, it's still cheaper than California and Washington, Oregon, and different states. Where you live in a shack, a studio shack, $750. That's still expensive. Jefferson City, Bozeman. See how much more expensive Bozeman is? 1 bedroom, only for... Actually, that's not that bad. Bozeman standard. I thought that said 2,100, but... Four bedroom, 2 bathroom house in Helena. I need some work on it. But there you have a view of Mount Helena. By the way, did we ever figure out what is going on in people's brain? Why do they call Helena when there's no A in the middle of the word? And nobody says Helena. There's Elena, but that has an A in the... Right? Elena? Or maybe not. Elena. Elena? And you get a beautiful pee-pee couch, pee-pee colored couch. But $425 is expensive. Let's look at... I'm interested. Zillow. Whoever would have thought we were going to do a stream reviewing 59602. What is going on? Why is this not letting me? I said 59602. That's not bad. But it was probably a trailer. $200,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom house in Helena's. What do you think it looks like? Is it a trailer? It's gotta be a trailer. Yeah, it's one of these prefab trailer homes, huh? That's why it's so cheap. Nope, I would never do that. Alright, let's look at... Oh man, one on the lake, but look at the price of... $250. What's this one look like? Oh, that's old, man. But it's 1,600 square foot. Man, this thing looks like it'd be... It's actually kind of cool. What do you guys think about this? What the heck is this? It's a weird looking place. Ew, carpets. It's probably a prefab home too, one of these. But it's got raw. I don't get it. It's weird. Weird. My place that I would love to live, back here, Grizzly Gulch, dude. You're far, like you're out in the middle of nowhere out here. The problem is these places are expensive. 1.95 million. What is this place? It's probably just land. Yep. But you're close enough to Helena, but you're out in the middle of nowhere. Like, that's really cool. 190K, that's land. Yep, it's just a lot. What is this place? 325. Lot. Clancy is where our church is. Unfortunately, love this town, but it's expensive too. The houses. Look at this. They're on the $1 million. $5 million. Here, we're raising funds in the stream. We're gonna purchase this. Oh, this is pretty awesome looking. $5 million though. Look at that door. Whoa. It's definitely not worth $5 million though. I just don't understand. Do you know there's a... Look at this. I'm going to try to find something for you. There's a... Actually, my godson and I took a rowboat, kayak or whatever, to this. You could purchase, okay, why do you see this? All right, let's go from Helena. You get outside of Helena in some of these places, you get some cheap spot. But let's go up to Flathead Lake. Uh-huh. And I'm going to show you this property. It's so overpriced, but it's so awesome. Just right across from my godson's place on Lakeside, right here. I think it's on this island. Let's see. This has got to be it. Is this it? 72. You can purchase this island. $72 million. This is it. This is the island right across from my godson's. You gotta see this. So awesome. So we took a boat to Cromwell. Well, I mean, a little kayak. We kayaked around this entire, because he's on the shore. But you gotta see this, dude. If you get this whole island for 72, if they cut it in half, it'd actually be a good deal. 45,000 square foot island, but with like a castle mansion on it. Where do you see this? Your own dock. Yeah, I think Godson's here. So what we did is we took a kayak around. I think that's what we, yeah. And I got to see, here's the mansion right here. Look at this place. This would be perfect for like a monastery. Look at this place. Oh. And it's got like a Greek look to it. Does Mediterranean. Woo, dog, look at that. Look how awesome. That's just one of the properties on the island. Yeah, my cousin lives over here. So that's what we did. We took a round, came around this, and then back. My wife was with me too. It was really fun. Here's another property on there. It looks like the architecture looks exactly like it's built, like would be perfect for a monastery. Look at the dock. Do you think? Obviously nobody's bought this because it's twice as much as it actually probably should be, but yeah, people are crazy. It just looks like it's made for orthodoxy. Beautiful. Not worth 72 million, but it isn't that cool? Can you imagine having that, owning that for the church, and having retreats or having a monastery? Contemporary Companion donates $5 and he said, do Orthodox believe the Bible contains contradictions? Nope. We do not. I've looked into explained away satisfactorily to me. Yeah. There might be stuff that looks like contradiction, but like all of those are pretty easy. They've all been. Yeah, and think about how much money would have to be dumped in. I mean, obviously, the inside's not even complete. It's been on the market forever. 10 years. Like, obviously, this guy's ridiculous trying to sell it for. I just don't understand people. Yes, my Tech 23. The gay marketing stuff's on the way out. Alyssa Logos, God bless. Would it be correct to say that Orthodox Church is an infallible statement on one books are fallible, but the Church's interpretation? Infallibility, if we say a council or a statement is infallible, it's nothing like the Roman Catholic Church. It doesn't like when in this situation it becomes infallible. Infallibility is the whole of the church. So anything that represents that or is displayed or declares the kataholos on the church would be infallible. So that's why you see the on the dogmas, not everything in the council is infallible, right? Like the minutes aren't. Not every canon is infallible. Dogma, because dogma represents the kataholos. And that's displayed at the universal level of all the church and what it's always held throughout all time. That is level of infallibility. So when you see the dogmas in the councils, specifically on what's accepted, that is infallible. Does that make sense? But a council itself doesn't make something infallible because councils are only one part of. So that's why you could have robber councils, right? What makes something infallible is all of it. Normative authority, right? The liturgies, the history, the saints, the fathers, all the councils, right? The entire life of the church. And when that's displayed and there's statements in virtue of that reflect that, that's what we would call infallible. Oh, you're saying on what books are infallible? Yeah, well, it's what's the church does believe that the Old and New Testament, that which is in the canon of the Orthodox Church are infallible. And you can see that being discussed through the various councils, which ends at the Council of Trullo, which I believe is 690. All right, let's look at. But the problem is people think in terms of either Protestant or Roman Catholic. Like, that's not our system. That's not. So what is infallible, how it looks, and how it's displayed is going to be extremely different. Our argument was what makes something infallible. It's all of those are necessary conditions. Yeah, I no catechesis continuing education this Friday. I have just way too much stuff. I'm still working on my workshop as well for the conference. It's just a lot of stuff. I want to see something. Let's go back to. I'm enjoying this looking at homes. I could move my extra my godson for 600,000. That's a lot. It's not even. These houses are so expensive. There's Dayton. Ooh, that doesn't look good. 285. They're all lots, just acreage. That's crazy. All right, let's go back to Helena. 59602. Helena. Going to Helena on a handbasket. Someplace on Lake Helena. 450. Let's see what this place looks like. A lot. Would be super cool. I always look. Another place I would like to live next to the ski resort. It's like 25. Marysville. Okay, remove boundary. Let's see if there's any places in Marysville. Nothing in Marysville. So sad. Here's a town called Weed. Hey man, look at this house. Whoa. It's not a house, it's a home. Oh, yeah. Wait, what? Where am I? Alright. Westside Helena would be cool. This place 470 watts is a lot. Oh, it's not. Not bad. But the house just looks funky. Let's see this. 4-bedroom, 3 baths, 2,800 square feet. Doesn't that look like a Midwestern home? That totally does. Kind of trippy fireplace. That's actually not that bad of a deal, is it? Cool little basement. Little nuke fallout, little basement right there, man. Yeah. Look at it. A garage. It's just the outside looks, I don't know. What do you guys think? But the area is actually cool. I like this area out. Right next to the Broadwater Hot Springs and one of the best restaurants in all of Helena. So this is outside of the city. It's nice. And it next to Wasserler Steakhouse, really good. $240. You can get a house in Helena for $240. It's got to be, what do you call it? Like a trailer, kind of. I don't like the cabinets, but those are like easy fixes. It's not a trailer. It's actually a brick. Oh shoot! It's like a condo. Yeah, that's not great. All right, let's keep looking. We're actually can get some cheap. There's a new development over going to East Helena. We just drove by this yesterday. This area is all new development. You could actually get a cheap house here. That's a lot. Another lot. See, they're all just brand new built. That's still kind of expensive, though. I thought they were cheaper. Here you go. 310, 2-bedroom. New. It's pretty small, though. 1,400. I hate the carpet. I don't get it. People with carpets. Three bedroom, 3-bath. This is probably being built. All these are being built. This is going to be the new neighborhood right here. It's all... We have a friend that lives over there. So look at these prices, and then you go to Butte. And look how much cheaper. What is this, Boulder? I actually kind of like Boulder. Small. Here you can get a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-bath house, 14 square, 220. This is the route to. Here's Butte. How much cheaper houses are in Butte? It's crazy. Oh, let's see. I'm gonna see what houses are like around the church. So the church is on Continental, probably right there. $239. 2-bedroom home, right down the street from the church. Thing is, these homes often need a lot of work. They're old. Yeah, look at Holy Trinity Serbian Orthodox Church. Right there. See how old these houses. So on the outside, but the inside looks nice. 210. What do you guys think? Are these good prices? Where's Walkersville? Up. Walkerville. Seeing at 75, overlooking the toxic waste called the Berkeley Pit. Huh. Alright, I'm going to check in with you guys in the chat real quick. No Pomzanski, no class this Friday. Or the next one. Do you know what's crazy? Watch this, though. I'm going to go back to where... I can't even remember what my zip code was. 92382. Hey, what was our zip code back in California? Let's see what it looks like in California. Oh, I'm just on the stream. Whoa. Let's see how much more expensive. I don't know, Montana prices are getting pretty close to Fullerton. Here's Orangethorpe and Harbor. I want to see what rent is. For rent, let's see. The apartments we used to live in. Whoa. Oh my gosh. $2,100 for a 1-bedroom. How crazy is that? How is that even possible? What is this place? 70. There's no way. Is this how expensive it is for rent? And this is on the same street we lived in. $7,800 a month for a 2-bedroom, 3-bath. Gosh. Oh my gosh. You guys gotta see this. So this is the complex next to where we used to. So the roughly the same. $2,100 for a 1-bedroom. Can you believe that? Rose Point. So we were right here. So here's the other one across the street. They're all the same prices, so you can get an idea. They're charging $2,100 for $4,000 for a 3-bedroom. Look at these prices. Even if you go to the ghetto, I'll show you where the ghetto is. This gets pretty ghetto-y over here. You can move to the ghetto for $2,000 a month. There is. Let's see what houses are like by the church I used to work at. Walnut, right next to Disneyland. I want a house on Tom Sawyer's Island. Right here is the church. There, you can. Live next to the Romanian church for $8,000 a month. Can you believe that? Now watch this. Let's move out to the desert and watch how cheap. Yeah, Adelanto, Victorville, dude. That's still kind of expensive, this place. This is where all the methamphetamine, it's called Propane Paradise, dude. Adelanto. Heavy gang activity. And even it's expensive. Can you believe that? You can literally move out into the desert, Propane Paradise, where they make meth, and you have to pay these prices. That's California for you. Holy smokes. Can you believe that? There you go. That's one reason why we left California. No, we keep up the tabs is actually a mark of higher intelligence. So we always get the anti-tab and tab bigots that come in. I'm sorry. But it has been proven that people who have more tabs are remarkably more intelligent. And so I wanted you guys to see. Fresno, yeah, used to be cheaper. Like Fresno, which was like really cheap, $1,600 for a 2-bedroom. Now, to be honest though, about the tabs, like that actually shows you stuff that I'm currently working on. Like that's how my mind works. What's MDE? Nick? I don't get it. Oh, yeah. Got it. All right, let's look. Twitter News, formerly Twitter, now X. By the way, I told you this. Obviously, it didn't evolve. Oh my god, these people. Look how dumb they are. This guy actually thinks this is proof. So if you learn something, that means that it was evolved. Well, I learned a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So that's... It must have come in existence when I learned it. Like, what is this guy talking about? Starting to think these guys have absolutely no idea what the Trinity is. Why am I seeing this everywhere? Who's Naylor Ray? Am I just that? Yeah, forgiveness doesn't remove consequences. Pointed out, if anybody uses orthobros in a derogatory term, be like, you are fake and gay. The only people that use bro in a derogatory term are leftist, gay, skittle, faggotry groups. So congratulations, you owned yourself. Keep pushing that. That's actually true. We need to call these people out. It's this guy that I actually think, I'm convinced he is a paid account. Like, they obviously have millions and millions of dollars. I call the Church of Latter-day Snakes. That's I coined that one yesterday. Because Jim Bob had called this guy a snake. And I'm like, they are the Church of the Latter-day Snakes. Look how dumb this is. The Father is God, the Son is God, the Son is not identical with the Father. So again, the same Muslim arguments, they can't distinguish between. Let me put it this way. Let me show you and I think Chase even pointed it, but I've made this argument before. I'm a human being. Where is it? Let me find. Chase is a human being. Chase and I are identical. So we're not human beings? Is that what the... Yeah, read this. No, he didn't. Wait, where was Chase? Why are Mormons so retarded exactly? I don't think it's genetic, is it? I think the religion makes them retarded. I reposted. Yeah. He's a human. So Chase is a human. I'm a human, therefore we must be the same human. These people, by the way, Mormonism doesn't care about logic and being consistent. It's a cult. They can change their position on anything and be like, well, now it's... See, that's the great thing about prophets is we can change. That's the great thing about our theology is contradictions can have. We don't care about logic and consistency, but you can't do that. So what I find so obvious, like ridiculous, is, oh, that's an innovation. That's what they keep like. But you guys accept innovations because you believe in the principle of open public revelation, and there was no end to the prophets. So you can't... Now, you could make an argument that you don't believe it, and so we believe that you're doing the thing that you don't, but that's not what they're arguing. They're actually contradicting themselves that innovation's bad, but it's good. It's good when we do it, but if we think you're doing it, it's bad. That's why... Point that out. They don't care. They're literally a demon-possessed cult. Prairie Muslim, space, polytheistic cult that don't care about. This guy, guarantee you, there's no way that somebody has this much time to post this much cult non-stop I guarantee you he's a paid account. They do have those. He's their social media paid account dude to just constantly try to post Cole thinking that he's defending Mormonism, the Church of Latter-day Snakes. Yeah, he's obviously, and what they do is every heretic take something out of context, but like out of context, like it's clear what he meant. Like obviously he's not meaning it's an innovation because I learned it. It means you're probably catechized. But yeah, if he'd read, these people don't care. These people do not care about truth. They're a cult. Man, I'm getting hungry. Makes me so mad about the pride flag in Missoula. Blatant defiance to Governor Gianforte's order that you cannot fly any of those in public schools, public buildings, government buildings, and they just literally put it up. The only flag that there, somebody tear it down. Tear it down. You can't do something. And Gianforte needs to have these people arrested. And this is going on. I even saw in Garden Grove, they put up in the park, you got this gay lights to celebrate. Lock these people up and throw away the key. Like, make it so that actions have consequences. The reason why these people do this stuff is because they get away with, I mean, if these people were locked, imagine if like you did this and you went to jail for 20 years. People would stop doing. That's what we need. We need 20-year prison sentences for anybody that promotes Skittles. Dude, this house looks awesome. Now, because I looked at houses on Facebook, it's just like everyone's going to be... Oh, man. Yeah, people are pushing back. We got to push back. You guys got to do it. Atlanta Braves. Ronald Acuna Jr. boycotts the Major League Baseball flag. Oh, that's cool. Where's Bannock, Montana? Oh, I had the craziest dream. The reason why it's this is Hotel Mead. So, anyways, my brain went to mead. I had a dream last night where somebody was making mead ice cream. How crazy is that? I don't even drink mead. Like, I don't know why I had a dream about mead ice cream. but I just remembered that after seeing. I so want to do this. I've always wanted to do this. So what they do is so there's a river. Oh, this has got to be so toxic though. And what they do is they cut out a little tiny hole, and then what happens is it gets bigger and bigger. And it makes a big river, and then it'll actually make these little kind of mounds that you can surf on. Obviously, they're surfing on. Here's a guy on a bodyboard. Big gulp of hepatitis C, dude, right into your mouth. That's gotta be Laguna Beach. So they got the skimboards, and you can actually skimboard on. The problem is this is so toxic is all the runoff from the mountains and these kind of rivers. Yeah, that's Laguna. See, look at that, dude. That is a Hep C filth pool, dude, and this is Laguna Beach. I know exactly where. So what they did is they cut out. They take a little shovel and then make, because this would just be like a little cesspool lake right here. So what happens is all the animal and crap and stuff comes down the hills, down these little, creeks, and then it sits there until basically, I guess when high tide comes up, some of this get pushed out. So what they do then is then make a little, with a shovel, so that some of that water can start pouring down and out, and as it pours more and more, it gets bigger and bigger. But dude, you've got to get some some hep shots after this for sure. They're always saying that the areas by the river and these places are actually the most toxic. So that's the downside of it. See how it collapses as it gets more and more. This started probably.
No.
There he goes. This guy blares. Looks like crazy dust. Look at that. Board and it's shot out. You can see that guy's bodyboard down. Look at that. Way FC filth pool right there.
Get in there!
Get in it. Right there. It's gonna. You're gone. Alright, what else news should we cover? Fish. Oh, look at these. I love these old. This is what this is what they took from us. This is what Los Angeles looked like in the 40s. it's crazy that people have footage of it. They're just filming it. Okay, boycott it. Yep. Boycott. Where in Montana is that? That's a good question. Let's see what people say. I don't recognize it. Big Fork. Over Swan River. Wouldn't know. Alright, lost that one. That's so crazy. These wave pools. Have you guys ever been to a wave pool?
We are back at the Dreamland. Landed in Munich. Oh, I've got the butterflies so bad right now. Oh boy, here she goes. Oh, weird.
I can't do it, man. I can't do something. This guy's
What is this place? That is messed up.
We need a pool, wave pool. That's how much it costs to make one of these things. $80 million. We need one in Montana. Alright, I'm trying to find you guys something. Aphex Twin. Let's see. Will I get dinged if I play? Oh, alright, I just want to hear it real quick. Aphex Twin's pretty good. Holy smokes, people are still skiing in Mammoth. That's so crazy. Bluegrass banjo. This guy looks like Les Claypool. What is that? Grafton Street. It's pretty slow. Okay, Grafton Street, Dublin. Butte. It's 12:30. I need to get some lunch. Oh. Let's see if we got any more super chats, any questions before we head out. Thing is, these wave pools, man, like, they're super expensive to go, like, to. Like, it would be really fun, but is Jim Bob going? Jim Bob's always going at the same time as. Tell him I'll save him a ticket. We're literally sold out. I can't believe it. I need to shut the payment thing off because if I get any more. Oh, Jim's doing the thing on Pride. Pride no more.
Respect your efforts. Resilience. Your persistence is unmatched. Jeez, man. Okay, what is it called? A Messenger of Truth? This should be good. I mean, the last one was a joke. You know what came up, dude? I searched that, and it says Messenger of Truth exposed. Oh, look. Debunking an Eastern Orth. Oh, that guy? Oh, this guy. Oh, I'll debate this guy. I actually just saw John Steele reviewing one of these guys. He debates evolution here and there. But John was all, I don't like this guy. He says, I don't like this guy. All right. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I've seen this guy. He's a little... Catholicism is disgusting.
Jimbo
Okay.
basically does the same thing as me. That's funny.
Now, I might not have the chops to even engage with some of these things because he's reviewing an Orthodox priest. So, but we'll just see what we got.
To go through and just find.
Let's see what we got here.
Material.
We're going to be in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Greetings, keyboard warriors and interweb heretics. Today we are ranking all of the best heresies that
I like Moses. Is that Father Moses? I like his
Protestantism brings to the table. At the end of it, we will be going over the true architecture of the church, and in the interim, we're going to be looking at these categories as a way to describing where they fall.
Fueled by ignorance. Okay. Did you know there's a church before 1500? Yeah. One of my favorite things to teach is that Protestantism is actually...
Wait, is it your church? Wait, was it Calvinism? Was it the Calvinist church before the year 1500?
actually more ancient than Eastern Orthodoxy, but that's...
What? He said, what did he say? What did he say?
Calvin.
Ignorance. Okay. Did you know there's a church before 1500? Yeah. One of my favorite things to teach is that Protestantism is actually more ancient than Eastern Orthodoxy.
Yeah.
What?
Dude. This is fun reviewing.
I thought he said
Jim Bob
Catholicism.
reviewing.
I was like, okay, well, you know, that ends up being the debate. Which church split from which, right? But he said Protestantism.
Actually.
What? One thing I
is
love
what
to teach is that
happens.
Protestantism is older than Orthodoxy. What?
This is what happens when you get on
Orthodoxy,
vapes.
but that's for a different video. Do you
and
even...
eat edibles.
Yeah, where's that video, by the way,
This
dude?
is vape theology.
Where's
Gen
that
Z
video,
vape theology?
please?
Actually,
in gospel?
I have a feeling that video
gospel.
doesn't exist.
Yeah, we're justified by faith apart from works of the law, and by God's grace we uphold the law.
God, I heard that one
You answer
before.
for this, and it's going to be hot. Okay.
Number 1, the prosperity gospel.
Oh man, dude. So as an Orthodox Christian, this kind of objection is laughable. Roman Catholicism, Eastern Orthodoxy, all the different types of orthodoxies out there are going to say the exact same thing. We are the one true church. We have this one line going straight back to the apostles, and we've all believed the exact same thing always, and there's no division at all. Well,
Nope, that's
Fake
actually
theology, dude. Can you believe it?
That's not entirely what the position is, so that's a straw man.
do you know what comes out of your one true church? Well, Roman Catholicism, right?
So you just wait, did you just concede? If Roman Catholicism was a branch that spread from a
you
root,
just lost.
you just admitted that there's a root, bro. Roman Catholicism didn't branch from Protestantism.
You know what comes out of
The apostles went to Calvin
Roman
University.
Catholicism? According to you,
College of the Apostles,
Protestantism,
remember?
and according to you, once again, I'm just working on your presuppositions, the prosperity gospel comes out of Protestantism. Do you know where that ultimately comes from? It comes from your one true church. Why? Because your one true church doesn't have that power to keep the entire body of Christ
Genetic
unified.
fallacy.
Whoa. That is all messed up and retarded. Prosperity gospel comes from orthodoxy because orthodoxy doesn't have the authority to stop branches of people, of heterodox branches. What kind of
What do you want us to
retarded
do?
shit
What,
is
like,
this? That's
burn
not even a
them, lock
valid
them up, and
argument.
put,
That's
like-
not even these are not even related statements at all.
Every Protestant 150 years ago, 200 years ago, 500 years ago
I can
would
trace
have
something
condemned Joel
back
Osteen.
to-
If Protestantism was the ancient root, then Catholicism would have branched out of Protestantism. And then if you took the same approach, you'd have to say that the critique is now you swap out Orthodoxy with Protestantism, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
like
you own
there's nothing
yourself.
about Protestantism that you can trace back to anything before. Definitionally, what Protestantism is a protest against indulgences and other things the Catholic Church were doing.
Okay.
I mean, if Protestantism was the more ancient church, you would have a different term for you wouldn't even use the word Protestant.
And all these other prosperity gospel preachers. This isn't coming out of the Protestant Reformation.
Altar Void $10. How is his line wrong? He said Protestant is older, so wouldn't it go Protestant then a line to Orthodoxy? Yeah, if he was actually consistent with the gibberish he just said. I mean, I hope this guy and Think Institute, Jola Scriptura, agree to do a debate with me and Jay. I've chosen my opponents.
And you would think that someone who has gone to study in seminary would understand something like this. Now, of course, you have to ask how serious this guy really is when you have all this fancy editing and everything. And in the
Wait, what? That doesn't make sense either. So people aren't serious if they have fancy editing? I mean, this guy should just stick to Legos. You could tell this guy believes everything NASA told him.
the pinned comment, you have a fundraiser, one-on-one coaching, a link to your Patreon, workout
You're literally poisoning the well.
videos, and supplements.
Oh,
And?
no. Oh, God. Dang it. Health and
And?
supplements.
And you have a code for 20% off.
And
Oh, my gosh. He's definitely vaxxed.
what a little shit.
He's on the
Wah.
faith, man.
A priest is actually more organized than you. Editing all fancy and offering other things on his channel to support him. Huh.
All right, this is honestly kind of ironic. Prosperity gospel. Let me just sell my supplements here.
I am going to rank this as I don't want to be there when you have to answer
Promo code fallacy.
for this. Because the reality is that you've traded the gospel of Christ, which is take up your cross and...
All right, let's see what you guys are doing in the chat when we're doing the analyzing Jim Bob's. All right, I seriously gotta get going. It was fun. It was fun hanging out, doing some reviews, talking some philosophy, cultural critiques. But alas, we have to depart. Go ahead and raid Jim Bob there, even though we're watching. And dig in, man. Dig into Jim Bob. Make sure we got one ticket left for Jim Bob. I'll let him come up. And God bless you guys. Thank you for those who joined in prayer. Until next time, I think tomorrow I'll be able to. Oh no, I have an appointment tomorrow morning. Can't tomorrow morning. Probably Friday morning. But that is all. Christ has ascended. He has ascended in glory. May he bless you and keep you and preserve you. Until next time, bye-bye, everybody.